Welcome to Partnering with Nature, a Biophilic Cities webinar series. I'm Rebecca Fornaby, a research associate with the Biophilic Cities project at the University of Virginia. Through this series, we hear from practitioners and researchers who are designing resilient and adaptive urban nature, engaging the public to protect and enhance their blue and green infrastructure, and addressing environmental justice issues through research and on-the-ground projects. The Biophilic Cities project started at UVA in 2011 to explore and advance nature in cities. In the fall of 2013, the Global Biophilic Cities Network was launched, with partner cities spanning the globe from Phoenix, Arizona to Singapore to Wellington, New Zealand. The webinar series is one of the many ways in which the new Global Biophilic Cities Network will help to disseminate knowledge about the innovative work of cities, organizations, and individuals around the world. To learn more about the project, visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and biophilic-cities.org. Today we'll be hearing from Kaberi Gupta, Director and Principal Investigator at the Urban Slender Loris Project. Kaberi is an interdisciplinary ecologist who grew up in one of the megacities of India, Calcutta. After graduating from college with a zoology honors degree, she went on to do her master's in wildlife biology from the Wildlife Institute of India and a master's and PhD in anthropology from Arizona State University. She studied the slender loris in the forests of a tiger reserve for about a decade with her PhD thesis research. Her current research draws upon her training in multiple disciplines to study the ecology of cities and other places where people live alongside wildlife. Kaberi did much of her PhD fieldwork with a toddler in tow and has been an advocate for issues that women face in the sciences, especially involving work in remote field locations. Her broader interests are at the intersection of women, science, environment, and policy. She conducted the first workshop on women and ecology in the tropical countries at the Association for Tropical Biology meeting in 2001 in India. She recently participated in Women in Science and Sexual Harassment radio program at the Pacifica Radio in Fresno, California. She frequently gives talks on the importance of science and people, especially women in environmental conservation in the 21st century. Kaberi will speak for about 30 minutes and then answer a few questions about her work. Welcome, Kaberi.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for inviting me to this webinar series. So I can start talking about what I have been doing. As you heard little bit about my background and how I started working in urban ecology, I probably will now start with what I'm currently doing in India in one of the other mega cities, recent or new mega cities in India, a city called Bangalore, where if you look at the talk, I'll be actually talking about a small nocturnal primate called Slender loris, which is only found in southern India and Sri Lanka. And it happened to be found in Bangalore too, which is a recent discovery for us scientists. Bangalore is also happened to be one of the fastest growing cities in India. So given that it is one of the fastest growing cities and becoming perhaps one of the most vulnerable environment or urban environment in the world, we thought that we should look at urban ecosystem in Bangalore to see what's going on there. And the focus was trying to figure out what's going on with the flagship species. So the broad goal of the project is basically looking at urban ecology in urban context in the fastest growing cities, such as Bangalore. And also if we can engage citizens to connect with nature in their own habitat within the city limits. The other problem is that we all know that loss of urban biodiversity with rapid growth also sort of gives cities puts cities in a vulnerable situation. So in that goal in mind, we decided to look at what urban ecosystems are and what does city do. So if you think about cities, as all of you probably know here, that cities are basically built by humans for their own shelter and protection. What happens when cities are built is that it actually stabilizes the climate. So we basically can control temperature and also sometimes rainfall. It also increases our food availability. Also gives some prediction. It creates a habitat that's predictable, habitats for humans as well as some other species. So if you look at crows or monkeys in the tropical forest, tropical urban cities, you will see then that they are actually coexisting with humans. Cities can also provide a better survival space for some of the generalist species like house sparrows or house crows, or even some of the feral species, domesticated species that become feral, like cats and dogs. So if you look at the uncontrolled urban growth, in most places, especially in countries like India, urban growth has been uncontrolled, which basically means that the green space is changing or we are losing our green space, and that actually altering the land cover and land use pattern in very fast rate. And that actually destabilizes the urban ecosystems, especially when cities are older, like few hundred years old or 1,000-year-old city. It also causes a shift in the availability of food of the inhabitants in there. It destabilizes climate. It also causes sudden change in temperature, as we see in most cities in the world, as well as it's quite prominent in tropical cities like Bangalore. And of course, it decreases the connectivity between green spaces within cities or within urban spaces. So what are the challenges that we could face while, if you would like to look at urban ecosystems for both studying for ecology as well as for conservation, and what we can do in order to include people or the inhabitants of the urban areas to engage in conservation of their own habitat. So what we can do is we can engage citizens in participatory science, participatory urban scientific studies. We can do it through citizen science. We can actually get more observers if we are doing citizen science. We can have larger sample size because we are actually involving people who are living in these habitats, so they know more about the habitats that they are living in. They are the denizens of this area, so they have also the ownership issues. So using all those positive part of being citizens who are living in the cities, we can actually also develop science education programs and help in developing better governance in which the people who are living in the city participate in the governance process. So next, I'll talk about a little bit about Bangalore city. As you can see in this picture, Bangalore is really, overwhelmingly fastest growing city. It used to be a garden city until probably about 25 years ago. It was a sleepy little town which was built in 1537, started in 1537. Mostly was a city with lots of academic institutions and also some army and military campuses. But what happened in the 1990s or late 1990s with globalization, or when the Indian government opened up for trade, the cities started growing really fast. And one of the things happened was that with India's educated citizens, it became a hub for computer or information technology. So it sort of became like Silicon Valley of California, Silicon Valley of India, equivalent of San Jose of India. The growth of the city from 1537 till 2007, and as far as I know, that until 2005 or 6, it was about 540, if you look at the yellow lines, 540 square kilometers. Now, as of 2014-15, it's actually 745 square kilometer area. Okay, so here you can see in this slide, there's a book recently written by Dr. Harini Nagendra, who is an economist by PhD, as well as a political and social scientist. She actually been studying Bangalore for past 15 years or so. And apart from her So to give you a little bit more about the background of this city, Bangalore was one of the, as I said, one of the greenest cities. It has a really high amount of biodiversity. It has about 340 species altogether, including 140 species of birds, many species of reptiles, mammals, which includes primates, non-human primates apart from humans. But what has happened in the last 25 years, along with the growth, as you can see, that the city has become almost unlivable. People have been predicting the city is going to be dead in the next 5 years. The city is growing too fast. It's unlivable, unbearable, all sorts of names, as you can see. It also, one of the impact that you can see even when you are going to the city, if you have been before, 5 years before, you can see a huge amount of change in the green cover, as especially if you are flying over the city. You can see that there are areas which are completely barren, only houses and nothing else, and it's just growing in an exponential rate. So it's growing from the center of the city all around it in a circular fashion. Also, because of the canopy has gone down within the center part of the city, the temperature, the surface temperature has gone up. As Bangalore used to be a cool city at around 3,000 feet altitude, it never got over 30 degrees Celsius temperature, even in the hot, hottest part of the summer. Now you see the temperature is going up to 42, 43 degrees Celsius, which basically means over 105, 108 degrees Celsius. Sorry, Fahrenheit. So what is going to happen to this city? What's happened and what can we do now? Dr. Harini Nagendra, who is an urban ecologist, has been living in Bangalore. She is also studying not only just the urban ecosystem, but also looking at the governance and impact of governance on the urban policies. She just recently wrote a book about nature that is found in Bangalore city. So again, here you can see how it has grown. The red part is where the density of human population or the concrete surface is highest, and the newer part, as it has been growing, you can see in lighter yellows, but that is from 2007. If you look at now, the gray areas in 2015 or 16, the gray areas are also now all built up areas. And like some of the cities in the US, which has the circular belt line, which is surrounded by basically means highways, you can see here also you have these circular roads, the highways that is surrounded the cities or city limits, but the growth is happening not only within these belt lines, outside the belt lines too. And the straight lines are actually, the straight darker lines are the train lines that is available within the city. So here we thought of looking at urban ecosystems, specifically, studying a small nocturnal climate as a focal species. The reason that we chose this species as a focal species is because until 2006 or 7, we had no idea that a animal like Slender loris, which is again a small nocturnal arboreal primate, weighs about 200 grams, a few ounces, about 8 inches long, very, very cryptic, shy species. We hardly know anything about them. There are only a couple of field studies on behaviors and ecology of this are done in India. So we had no idea they were found in the cities. They are found they're distributed in southern India, but no one knew that they are in the cities. Around 2006 or 7, at the Indian Institute of Science campus, some of the researchers and graduate students started noticing Slender loris in the campus. So that sort of made people aware of presence of Slender loris. People in the sense the people of our generation, people of in the mid 40s, 50s. So I have been going to this city since 1991, and I have been going to Indian Institute of Science campus since then, but we have never ever known that there are lorises found in this campus. And because of that, all of a sudden we noticed that there is a huge interest in this species. People started liking them. People think they're cute, and there's lot of attention that's going on this species. So we decided maybe we should use Slender loris as a focal species to understand the urban biodiversity, loss of urban biodiversity or state health of the urban forests, and partly also because we knew that Slender loris is a species that not only just uses arboreal canopy, but also they need continuous canopy for movement, because they don't jump. They are not, unlike monkeys or even bush babies, even though they're related to bush babies and lemurs. They crawl from one tree to another tree. They use these horizontal branches on the canopy, and they sleep during the daytime in the canopy. Plus, they're also insectivores. They also feed on, eat fruits and feed occasionally on lizards and bird eggs and stuff like that. So it is a species that requires, a good type of forest, so which is more like a matured forest. So we decided that, you know, it's not only just this cute little animal, but also it can be used as a focal species to attract attention of people and the policymakers within the city. So what we decided to do is we developed a citizen science project where people will be participating in the in collecting information about this species in the city. But because it's an internal species, we needed to think about how we are going to do this study with people. As you know that, you know, not many people would be interested in coming out at night in the forest or even in the city. So I ended up staying in Bangalore for 5 months, focusing completely on trying to develop a project with community members. We started with a group of scientists and naturalists, and slowly started talking about the feasibility and process or the methods that we can use to study lorises in the Bangalore's canopy. It took me, I actually initially decided to go for about 8 months. I'm based in the US right now. So decided to go for, 8 weeks, ended up staying there for 6 months. The reason I had to do that is because not only just that how we can study these animals, but also I needed to convince people that it's possible to do a work on a small nocturnal primate which is very elusive, hardly can be visible, that you can actually study them, you can find them in the city. It's possible that you can see them in the city and you don't have to go in the forests, far away in the forests, like in a national park or a tiger reserve in southern India, to see them. And this can be used as a species, as a flagship species to understand the health of the urban forests. But there's one more thing. This species has a threat. This species, because people think they're cute, they're used as pets. Right now, they are declared as endangered species under the Indian Wildlife Act. So these are as important as tigers in terms of protection, but they don't get as much attention as tigers. So the pet trade is illegal, but still we can see sometimes occasional reports of animals being poached for pet trade. Few years ago, we had seen a news of 2 animals were being, traded by 2 foreigners and caught at the airport in Delhi. So it's not only just the trade within the country, but it also an international trade. But then we don't know the extent of trade, and in certain parts of southern India, especially in the rural areas, they are also used for black magic or witchcraft. So we know that these things are happening in certain parts, but we don't know what's happening in the city. So there are a group of naturalists or concerned citizens. They were very concerned about what will happen if we study the lorises. Everybody will come to know about it, and therefore the whole population will get disappeared within few days if we study. So what we needed then to do is we decided that we should figure out first what's the distribution, what's the threat of this population within the city, right? And if you look at the vegetation maps of the city, it looks like the major threat is habitat destruction. The rapid habitat loss, that's much more than anything else that you can find in the city. We also tried to figure out how could we get information about poaching or illegal pet trade, because we have no idea, there is no baseline information about any of these things. And as I told you, there's only 1 or 2 studies about ecology and behavior of this species in the wild that's happened in a tiger reserve. So you have no idea how they are surviving even here in the city, in such smaller patches of forests, fragmented forest patches. So I developed a survey for initially among the Indian Institute of Science and other couple of institutes, student communities and faculties, staff and faculty communities through online surveys. Once we got the information about locations where people have seen them in the past or where they have been seeing them currently, we decided to design a study which would be simple enough for people to follow it at night or conduct it at night. We decided to divide the city into 5 square kilometer grids. And the objective was to determine the extent of change in habitats, identify the habitats that are actually habitat variables that are affecting the distribution, engage citizens and increase awareness, and also develop a long-term study monitoring project of loris as well as urban biodiversity in the Bangalore area, in the urban Bangalore area. So, as I said that I did online surveys. We also decided to do some ethnographic interviews to find out what do people know about the lorises. We started using social media, especially Facebook, to recruit volunteers, as well as newspapers, local newspapers, both at national English newspapers and the local language newspapers picked up stories. We divided the city into 25 5x5 square kilometer grids, and then we decided to do the night surveys. So we trained volunteers, those who signed up for volunteering, through our online Google Forms. We started training them. I actually trained about 60 people, and we decided to do it about 5 persons in a team at least 3 times in each of these grids wherever there is green space. So that took quite a while, and then once that was done, the initial training was done, after multiple meetings and trainings, and also we trained some of the volunteers in how to identify trees. As you can see in these pictures here, we also sometimes were able to engage some of the young people, like you can see in one of the pictures here, there's 5-year-old kids coming with us in the forest at night. Sorry. If you can see here, you can see the locations in this of the city of Bangalore in the map of India. It's almost in the middle of southern India. Here is the 5 square kilometer grids, and each of these grids, the green patches are the ones that we have seen lorises currently. Then the triangles are the areas where lorises were found in the past. This came out through the interviews and surveys, online surveys. That is basically where people have seen them in the past. And also we were working with rescuers. There is a huge group of rescuers who work with the Karnataka Forest Department in the city of Bangalore, and as well as also with the Bangalore Municipal Corporation. So we started talking to them, interviewing them, figuring out where they have been rescuing animals, and then based on all of this information, we created this map. So if you look at here, it looks like it's pretty much from north to south and mostly in the eastern part of the western part of the city. In the next slide, so I'm going to show you guys what the animals number or what we found from these night surveys. So in order to understand the distribution pattern, not only just the presence absence, but also what kind of abundance or density you find them in the city in these green patches, we decided to come up with an index, which I have used it for my PhD work. It's called sighting per kilometer. So basically, as you walk on a transect, which is not a straight line transect, but walking along the existing roads or paths with headlamps on both sides, you are searching for animals. As you spot them, the way again you spot them is you can find them through their eye shines. So your headlamp's light goes directly to their eyes and it gets reflected to your eyes, just like your cats at night. So through that, we know how many individuals we are seeing. We can count the number as well as we record the distance we cover. Based on that we come up with an index of sighting per kilometer. And here you can see that sighting per kilometer varies between different patches that we have surveyed. You can find them high in the IISC campus, which is the Indian Institute of Science campus. That's where we first noticed these animals in recent years. So what does that mean? As if we divide these habitats, the areas that we have surveyed, we can actually find out that we have surveyed 3 different kinds of areas given their political and conservation status. One is institutes, campus, university campuses or research institution campuses. The other is forest or woodlands that are protected by the forest department, the city forest department. And the third one is public parks, which is like, regular city parks. So here you can see that we actually ended up doing a lot more surveys in the institutions, but they are also found in small or large-sized public parks. But, all of these areas, whether it's a park or campus, institute campus, or the city-owned or government-owned forest patches, they all are supposed to be protected to some extent. Although they are protected, but because of the development, rapid development in the city, there is a new problem that just started, which we didn't see it before. The city's developers are buying lands and developing housing complexes, not only within the city, main city area, but also in the outskirts as the city is growing. And these outskirt areas is where you have these forest lands owned by the local forest department. What these developers are doing, instead of keeping some open space for developing parks for their neighborhoods that they are creating, they're going to the local politicians, the state politicians, and asking them to put pressure on the forest departments to create city parks of those lands that are right now supposed to be protected as forest lands. So because of that, when I spoke to several of the forest officials, they told me that yes, this is a pressure, and that is why we are, we have pressure on modifying these habitats into city parks. So what happens when you make a city park? You can see on the left top corner, there's a forest which was, more or less lots of trees, climbers, pretty thick canopy. On the bottom left, you can see that it was cleared up. All the bottom covers, bottom canopies and the ground covers are gone. They were burnt and roads were made. And this is an area which we have seen lorises. So there's about 5 loris we have seen, individuals we have seen, including a breeding population with infants in that group. So what do we do in that case? What would you think if you could do? We of course were really upset. We decided to go talk to the local forest department, forest officials, started with the local ranges, and they told us that they can't do anything because this is an order they have received from the chief minister, which is the equivalent of state governor, as well as from his boss. So we then went to his boss, who is the district forest officer as well as the state forest chief, and talked to them about what's the importance of slender loris. The interesting thing is that the chief forest officer of the state is actually very much interested in slender loris population or slender loris conservation. He's the one who actually had encouraged the citizen science project and gave us the permission to work. But he had no idea that these are the forest patches which also has lorises. So what we then did is get them not only just a report, but also gave basically a PowerPoint presentation about what loris behavior looks like, what do they need, and what kind of forest is therefore necessary for their survival, which is also going to be a hotspot for other urban species. So there was a halt in that project. They were able to convert or save part of the 30 acres of land, which is kept like the left top corner pictures that you can see. And we went back to do surveys of the lorises there. We still found lorises, and we found there's 5 or 6 animals still hanging out. They moved into this small patch instead of the entire area where we initially started finding them. So they're there, but I'm not sure how long they're going to be there unless we stop this kind of growth within these forest patches. So the other threats, as I said, that we have threats like black magic. You can see there are a couple of reports that I have posted here. These are from online internet websites. But you can also see them in local newspapers occasionally come up. So you find them, lorises are being killed or injured animals that are, found in outside the rural areas most of the time, outside the urban areas most of the time. So what do we do in those cases? Again, the reason that the only way perhaps we can stop all of these kind of things, whether it's the urban landscape modifications or poaching or pet trade, is perhaps with increased awareness among people who are living there. That's perhaps the only long-term solution. In short term, you can actually go catch them. Forest department or the local municipal corporation can put restrictions, but those are all short-term solutions. The long-term solutions, again, need to make people understand what are lorises, what do they need, how you can conserve those habitats, and ultimately this habitat conservation is for the survival of humans, and humans are part of the ecosystem. So we have all these newspaper articles that people have, the journalists have published, including one of the articles that came out in the Guardian newspaper. So that sort of that way we are increasing awareness, reaching out to people. Some of them you can see in the local language newspapers too. We also put out a newsletter, monthly newsletter about our activities, what we have been doing. Sorry, go back again. We engage with engaging citizens. So how we have been doing, what we have done so far. So if you look at here, this of course information until June of 2016. We have our Facebook page, we have our websites, as well as we have our Twitter. So through social media, we are able to engage a lot of, a huge number of people compared to some of the other studies. We also have interest groups based on the people who have signed up based from social media or newspapers or other internet information. So there are about 350 people who are part of our interest groups. We have a core group of about 15 people who are the one who they have been in charge of the entire project in field. So it's more like not only just a citizen science study or project, it's also a community-based conservation project where people are the one who are there. They are the one who are not only just participating, they're making decisions. They are deciding who we need to talk to, how we are going to engage community members, how we are going to do the study, which areas we are going to survey, and when we are going to go and talk to the government agencies or whoever is the authority. So this kind of citizen engagement is, I think, is a crucial part of any kind of long-term conservation of urban habitat. And that way you are also building bridges between the community members and scientists as well as with the policymakers. And here is a picture of a group of group of citizens who have come for watching loris at night. So apart from doing these nocturnal service, we also once in a while we open up for just what we call loris walk. Citizens can sign up either through our website or another group's website. They can come. We organize trips. We organize loris walks. We do it once in every few months for people to participate, to understand what it is like, how they can get involved, and what it takes to study, to do a scientific study. So if you look at the other part, apart from the scientific study, for the outreach part of the project, as I said, that we have been doing loris walks, we have newsletters, we have presentations. I have been doing presentations in cafes. I have done presentations in cafes, in IT industry offices, in schools, in colleges. We have radio shows. We have done local radio shows, international radio shows. We have done interviews. Some of our core team members, they're extremely good in giving talks. So they have been going and talking to school children, connecting with local non-English speaking community members. We have been also, we have done posters. We are also interviewing people. We are developing a oral history project where we are collecting stories through interviews, open-ended interviews about what people know about lorises, if they have lorises, what kind of, when they had it, when they had seen it, and if they ever had as a kid a slender loris as a pet, what kind of behavior they have observed. So through that, we were able to get people who otherwise wouldn't have been, wouldn't have known or wouldn't have been able to do any kind of conservation of urban habitats or loris habitats in the city. To give you a story, I was sitting one day in a cafe, which is sort of an iconic restaurant slash cafe of Bangalore, almost 100 years old. I was talking to a friend, and the owner of the cafe came, and we started talking to him. The moment I said that, I'm looking at slender loris, his eyes just became, really big and got really interested in talking to me. He said, I had 3 slender lorises in my house when I was growing up. He's now 70 years old. So when he was about 14 or 15, he had lorises at home, because that time it was not an endangered species and people could keep them as pets. And he gave me some of the information that even though I have studied them in the wild for almost 10 years, I had never seen them. And then he told me that, Kaberi, I thought lorises gone extinct from the city. I would never see them again in my lifetime. And then I said, well, why don't you come with me to see the lorises? So he got so excited. He not only came to see lorises, he brought his friends to see the lorises. And then he gave us funding to do some, outreach work. He got us connected with his friends. So we interviewed them and got some of more our oral history stories through them, and found out that lorises used to be actually found in the heart of the city, where right now, office complexes or big housing complexes, in those places earlier there were big forest patches. And in those patches, until like 1960s, late 60s, you could see lorises. Now those patches are not there anymore. They don't exist anymore. So even with all the growth and everything, we are still finding biodiversity within the city. But the question is, how long and how can we protect them for long-term conservation, both in terms of biodiversity conservation and also survival of our own species, humans. So now with that, I will let you ask me questions if you have any.
Sure. Yes, definitely. First, thank you so much for telling us about this incredible project. Coming from an urban planning background myself, I guess my first question is really what, and you talked maybe a little bit about this, but what would you say were, the greatest challenges in creating and successfully operating this citizen science project, and how would you say you were able to overcome them?
It is a huge challenge, and I'm not sure whether I have been able to overcome it completely. One of the biggest challenge I find is to convince people to participate. And I think, again, it's the right kind of stuff that you need to find, right kind of project that is possible or feasible for people to do it, that grabs people's attention, and makes them proud or give them some kind of ownership or stewardship of their effort, or of their land or animal or whatever you can call it. I think so that's an important thing to find out. And then it requires a lot of time from your part as a scientist, because, I'm not trained as a community organizer, right?
Right.
I love to talk. I know that's one of my passion, to do conservation with community members. And I have done that when I was a grad student. I lived in a tiger reserve for almost 10 years and developed a really, really good, connection with the local people who have been local indigenous people, and also the others who are living inside or outside the forest. As I said that, I had my daughter with me towards the end of my PhD work.
Right.
So, so these kind of things that it doesn't automatically come to scientists all the time. And also when we talk about doing citizen science, lot of the time scientists think that, well, we can, just do citizen science because we can get data in a short time, a huge amount of data in a short time. In fact, that was one of the reasons that citizen science evolved especially in Europe, in UK, but grants were going down, there's not enough money, so therefore why not use citizens to get data collection. But if you go beyond that data collection, if you engage them, if you make them partners, I think that's when you can get a better or more successful citizen science project, especially in urban areas, because in urban areas everybody is busy, and going from one place to another place is not very easy. There's lots of traffic, lots of other stuff that goes on. So it is about how much you commit as a organizer, and what you can bring it to them, how you can attract their attention.
And it sounds sounds like imparting that passion on the community would help with long-term results as well.
Yes,
that's kind of seeds that will grow over time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think that's really, really important. What people have told me, people told me that the thing that I was able to do, that I brought this group of people together who otherwise wouldn't have come together at all. They didn't know each other. They're all strangers, right?
Right.
And they got to know each other and understood that they all have same passion or same, ideas, is because of the Urban Slender Loris project. So
right. I was going to ask you, because you mentioned building bridges between citizens and policymakers, but it sounds like building bridges between citizens and citizens is actually one of the huge benefits of using citizen science to protect the Slender Loris.
True. That's so true. I didn't think about this citizen-to-citizen bridges before. Yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, that's great. So I guess we're wrapping up, but you mentioned you have a Facebook page, a website. Is there anything else you want to say to people who might want to learn more or get more involved with the Slender Loris project?
Yeah. I think right now our project is going a little bit slow because some of the permissions have permissions for work. We need to renew it. And I have to also go back. Some of our volunteers got extremely busy with their work, so they are not able to spend a lot of time. So it's kind of a slow phase we are going through right now. But we don't have any grants right now, so I'm looking for grants, looking for financial support and funding. So we will start a crowdfunding campaign soon. I would like to get some advice if anybody has, and if any of you are filmmaker or help in campaigning or lobbying, I would like to get some advice or help or suggestions from all of you about how to develop a successful campaign for getting funds as well as keeping it going over a long period of time.
Okay, great. And we'll be sure to include a link to the Urban Slender Loris website and social media in the description of this video.
So and also to get to more and more other cities in the Biophilic Cities Network so that we can actually discuss some of the issues or, some of the stuff that others have done that we haven't done, or we can exchange ideas. And that's one thing that I would like to do. And especially, I'm not a planner, so I would like to get some information or advice from the environmental planners and and architects and stuff like that.
Great. Well, yes, definitely. Exchanging ideas is definitely our mission at Biophilic Cities. So thank you so much, Kaberi. This concludes this Biophilic Cities webinar, Reconciling Conservation and Urbanization, Engaging Citizen Science to Conserve Slender Loris, with Kaberi Gupta. So thanks everyone for watching, and thank you again for sharing your work with us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me, both you and the Biophilic Cities Network.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.